Good afternoon, good evening to all of you. My name is Shirsendu Chaudhary. I'm the Senior Director responsible for the market growth for Asia Pacific and Europe for Resilink. Let me introduce a concept out here. We at Resilink drives supply chain risk management solution for global organizations. Supply chain is becoming one of the very important parameters for growth for any organization today, and especially India going into a manufacturing kind of ecosystem in few years from now, or actually it started. Supply chain is going to be a very critical factor because we cannot produce everything ourselves. So that's what we are trying to do. We work with the global organizations across various sectors, and I'll come and explain to you what we do in different sectors as we go ahead. So my topic today will address in terms of how a supply chain organization, which is basically a cost center in most of the organizations because they do procurement themselves, can drive revenue, ROI and customer success with the process and policies in place. If you have been following the trends globally, you can see that supply chain is very disruptive. You have all heard about various incidents globally. In 2022, it started way back with the silicon chip crisis, across the world, where people were not able to produce their vehicles, the medical equipments were not able to get produced. There was an issue because of COVID, etc., etc. So supply chain has been a disruptive factor in the global economic and manufacturing sector across for many years now. And as we go into 2023, and you can see out here, there are multiple issues, which is affecting the supply chain today. There are labor issues across the globe. US is trying to establish the semiconductor industry. They took a lot of initiative with Taiwan to put up the semiconductor industry. They are not able to start the production because the manpower is not available. The so-called East Asian economies and European economies are not able to produce to their capacity because there is an aging population out there, and they are not able to produce enough engineers in that sector. So as we go ahead, and you can see, apart from the labor issues, the geopolitical tensions, Russia-Ukraine war, China-Taiwan issues, various other geopolitical factors that is cropping up. We saw G20, how it is spanning across, how different issues are spanning. And then other issues like ESG. A lot of people have spoken about ESG today. ESG is becoming very, very important criteria for any organization to survive. There was a factory in Belgium from 3M which got shut down because they violated the environmental regulation, whatever the authorities they have put across there. And the coolant factory of 3M in Belgium shut down, and it caused $10 billion impact on automotive sector alone. That is the disruption that we are speaking about supply chain, and some of the factors that are listed out there. If you look into the right-hand side, as an organization, we monitor multiple events which disrupt supply chain. And few of the events which bring a lot of focus is actually something which is very, very controllable, like factory fire. Factory fire contributes to the highest number of supply chain disruptions globally. And 92% of the manufacturing setup, which can be a major OEM, or it can be a tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers, doesn't have a sprinkler system in place to put their production in order if there is a fire breakout happens. So there are multiple issues which will be there, which are affecting the supply chain globally. I have touched upon about the global disruption trend. Extreme weather is again causing a lot of havoc. We have seen the cyclone seasons in US, in East Asia, in Southeast Asia. A lot of impact is happening because of this one. And every day, as we are seeing, the number of environmental issues are extremely becoming more prominent as we go ahead. Cyber attacks is again one of the very important issues. Most of the organizations' manufacturing becomes disruptive because because of the cyber attacks which is happening not only on their facility but on their supplier facility. So those are the issues which we bring in. Now, I really touched upon that issue of lack of labor in certain advanced economies, and you can see the data out here. If you look into the semiconductor sector in US, there is a gap, huge gap. And that's where we cannot see factories like TSMC or Foxconn can set up their factories in US because there is a lack of skill shortage in the geography. Not only on that kind of a skill, but if you look into the truck drivers who play a very important role in logistics, this is also becoming very big issue in US. So all these are becoming a very high disruptive factors in the global supply chain. And Resilink is here. We have been in this domain for last 12 years. We have more than 200 plus customers globally who adopt our application. It is across different sectors, life sciences, technology, auto industrial, government, defense, etc., where we work. We have offices across the globe. We have office in San Francisco Bay Area where we are headquartered out. We have office in India where we employ more than 300 plus resources, and that's the development and the engineering center for us. We have got the investment from Vista Equity Partners in 2023 as the Series C funding, the growth funding that you say, and we are expanding on a high expansion mode as we speak about. Now, I don't want you to go too much technical here, but this is what we try to solve. We help organization to manage supply chain both on a reactive and a proactive mode. Maybe we can touch base during the breakout sessions, and I can help you out and understand how we do it. Global players, as you saw in the other slide, are working with us to make this happen. Now, what is the benefit out here? One is that if you go into a disruption, if you see this line out here, as soon as there is a certain event which impacts the supply chain of the organization, you have to go into a war mode. And as you go into some sort of a war mode, you are going to lose revenue. That's because you lack visibility, you lack correct playbooks to trigger any sort of a resumption of your production process. Now with Resilink, what happens is that you can be in control. You know what's the problem that you are facing from our proactive and reactive approach that we discussed earlier. And by this approach, what we do is that we help organization reduce the expenses because of that, which is inevitable, which you cannot resolve by yourself. So that's what we, when we say by using our solution, we will be able to help you drive ROI benefits in this sector. And there are multiple data sets that we can produce in terms of how this entire economy is getting affected and how the organizations are getting affected. And since it brings revenue back to the organization, most of the CFOs just love it, because that's what the revenue leakage is stopped, and that's what the operational efficiency is brought about. This is a very important slide. Like most of the people out here come from the IT industry. You all know about CMMI process, where you move from certain stage of maturity to become, very competent in your process areas. In supply chain also, we follow a process where we move your process from being reactive to become resilient. And that's what we know known as supply chain risk maturity model that we work with every organization that we work with in terms of moving them from being reactive to become resilient. And as I said, because of those labor disruptions, to conclude this session, India is going to gain big time. We had the Semicon India conference last month where Prime Minister spoke about bringing a lot of semiconductor organization or manufacturing base in India. There are logistics players across who have started operating in India. India is becoming the key corridor. We have seen how India and Europe is going to get connected through Saudi, through this rail link that we have discussed. And also, if you see, lot of managed services opportunities or managed service centers are being started, are getting, operated out of India. So all the back-end work is coming to India because we have shown the world in terms of how we can excel in our IT and other areas. So with these words, I conclude. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak here, and looking forward to discuss with you. Thank you very much.